without further ado, we'll switch topics to
You've
professional
been waiting.
I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting. I mean,
full disclosure, and I'm not a hater. I'm not Skip Bayless, but Jack is a massive LeBron James fan,
which has made this
which
season,
I am too, but not as outspoken.
which is a shame because this season has just been a nightmare.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keeping Score with Dylan and Jack, a podcast show dedicated to bringing analysis of Rutgers sports and sports around the country. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Jack.
And today we're going to talk about Rutgers men's basketball with their big win on senior day, LeBron James continuing to defy the laws of physics, and overall NBA talk as we gear up for the last part of the season. But obviously, we're a Rutgers show. We're going to start with Rutgers men's basketball. A huge win today against Penn State. Up 15 with 4 minutes left, and they have a tendency to go for the dramatic, and they went for the dramatic again today. It was a 1-point game, and they escape. They beat Penn State, and I would say for all intents and purposes, they made the NCAA tournament today.
We were talking about this before. It's still up in the air.
It really depends who you ask.
First of all, amazing environment. Me and you were both there.
Oh.
Amazing environment at the game. It says 8,399 people officially went to the game.
Yes.
That's insane.
I did not think more than 8,000 people could fit in Jersey Mike's Arena, but I know that now. So
unbelievable game. Unbelievable game to go to. Unbelievable atmosphere. Unbelievable send-off for, the most historic class, senior class, ever in Rutgers basketball.
There were classes in the 70s that went to the Final Four.
Yeah, but
But the best class in probably the past 3 decades.
Yes.
By
I agree
far.
with that. No, I got nothing against those 7Ds classes, but it's gonna be hard to top this group.
Absolutely. It's also the group that especially Geo Baker, they literally went from being the worst program in the Big Ten, one of the worst high major programs in the country, and now they're they can pretty much beat anybody on any given night. They're a contender for the Big Ten title. Right now they're at least locked to be the 5th seed because Michigan beat Ohio State today. I think Illinois-Iowa tips off in about an hour, and if Illinois wins, Rutgers 4 seed, they get a double bye, they get into the quarterfinals automatically, and they're the 4th best team in the best conference in the country. How can you leave them out of the tournament?
I completely agree. And just running through the stats from today, Ron Harper Jr., 15 points, led the team, was also the only double-digit scorer on the team today. Geo Baker was, although he played pretty well in my opinion, he just wasn't making his shots. 2 for 8 from the field. 5 assists, was second only to Paul Mulcahy in assists, who had 6. And, yeah, Cliff Amore, even in only 19 minutes due to foul trouble, 9 points. And honestly, the hero of this game, a lot was made about the seniors, obviously. But the hero of this game was Grim Reaver himself.
The Grim Reaver.
Dean Reaver, 61 seconds of the game. Cliff Amore pulled... and I mean this respectfully, Miles Johnson and got 2 fouls in 61 seconds.
Yeah.
And
I was nervous.
That pressed Dean Reaver into action. That forced Ralph Gonzalez-Agee to play some minutes. And Dean Reaver really came out and played really well. Hit another 3. And I feel like he just has a 3 per game at this point whenever he gets into the game.
He's a hooper.
And I gotta say, Dylan, if you remember early in the game, Ron Harper Jr. threw a lob at Dean Reaver. It was one of the first baskets of the game.
Yeah. Oh, I remember.
I don't think I've heard Jersey Mike's Arena get that loud before.
And
that's saying something.
It's an unlikely person to throw a lob to. No offense to Dean Reaver, but if you're gonna tell me someone on Rutgers is gonna catch a lob, my first guess is Cliff. Yeah. My second guess is Ron. My third and fourth guesses are Gio and Caleb. And maybe my 5th or 6th guess is Dean Reaver.
He's a jumper, though. He's a jumper.
He is a jumper. Okay, that's fair. He's a jumper. And you know what? Peichel talked about it in his post-game conference. He said the way Dean Reaver's been playing, the improvement this season has been incredible. And it's been you could see it. It's not something that you have to look into to the way he played in November compared to the way he played today is night and day. He went from a guy who could average 2 minutes a game, barely do anything, to a guy that is, for now at least, a very viable backup center and could maybe one day turn into a starting center, depending on the future of Cliff Amore if he decides to go next level.
And Rutgers needed that.
Yes.
When we went into the season, what was the number one question? Who was the backup center behind Cliff? Who was it going to be? Was it going to be Reaver? Was it going to be Ralph. We didn't
Was it
know.
going to be a transfer?
Was it going to be a transfer? We didn't know. And Dean Reber really has. I feel like it's almost underrated how well he's fit into that role and how important it's been that he's been able to fit into that role, because Peichel says it after every press conference how good the bigs are in the Big Ten.
I talk about him ad nauseum, but he is still underrated. I will spread the Dean Reber rhetoric all around this campus and all around the internet verse. But he's great. Rutgers is great. You can't leave out the 5th or 4th best team in the Big Ten, bracketologists. So put Rutgers in because they deserve to be. They win one game in the Big Ten tournament. It's an absolute lock. It's a mortal lock.
Well, that's an interesting question, because if Rutgers gets the 5 seed now, like you said, Dylan, Iowa and Illinois start very shortly, and we'll find out what happens there. But if Rutgers gets the 5 seed, then they're going up against a team that's a quad 3 team at some point.
I mean,
it would
even
be
if they get the 4, they're going up against maybe the 8 or 7 seed.
Yeah,
and that would be a quad 2 still. It's a game you can't lose.
Point is though, if it's in the quarters, they get the 4 seed. What would they be? The 4 seed? They'll probably play the 5 seed most likely.
I don't know how.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is that if they get the 4 seed, it's not must can't lose territory like today was, and I really feel like that the must can't lose territory kind of got to Rutgers at the end of the game. Obviously, as everyone saw, they almost blew it.
Yes.
They gave Penn State every opportunity to blow it.
They literally gave Penn State the ball and gave them a chance to win the game.
Yeah. And
With
I'm
5 seconds left.
I mean, I couldn't after the game. I literally just dropped my head. I couldn't. I was like, geez, every time. But the point is, from this game, they got the win. That's what he needed to do. A loss would have been catastrophic. They got the win. That's all that matters. And we'll move on to the Big Ten tournament, which I will be in attendance for.
Huge.
This lovely newspaper, the Daily Targum.
Jack's first trip.
Yep.
Jack's first trip. Love to see it.
First trip for the Targum.
Yes.
For sure for the Targum.
Yes. He does travel. He does travel, ladies and gentlemen. But
Indiana, great state. Dylan, I think you could second that after your trip in trip in the state.
Just I was in Indianapolis for the women's tournament with WRSU. Which, speaking of WRSU, Chris Sakonis today. It was his senior day as well. He called the game with me. Great commentator. You're going to be hearing about him for a long time. I
second that.
him. He is.
Shout out Chris Sakonis.
He's otherworldly. So I really appreciate getting to share that moment with him. His last call at J Mike's.
Great announcer.
Yeah. So I was in Indianapolis last week for the women's tournament. I had a really good time. Rutgers, they won a game, which didn't know what was going to happen. They won a game. Also got to call the game at Indiana where Ron hit another game winner, as he does.
I feel like I would talk about that game.
It was so. First of all,
we had a last podcast last week. We got to talk about Indiana.
If you're not a Big Ten fan, if you are a Big Ten fan and you haven't been to Assembly Hall, do it. It is an incredible atmosphere. First of all, the stadium is steep. Cameron Indoor, how Cameron Indoor is like a bowl. Same with Assembly Hall. It is a bowl. It's steep. The fans are on top of the court. You feel it. You hear it.
You look like you're commentating from the roof, though.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we were way up there in the back, but I could see everything. I could see everything. So it was actually a pretty good angle. The only thing is the way my eyes are. It was hard to see if the shot was gonna go in or not. But
right.
It doesn't matter because you're just reacting. But
that was the first of 2 huge wins for Rutgers, and I'll just go straight to the point. Ron Harper Jr. did his thing again in the clutch. I mean, that was that was unbelievable.
He's that guy.
You watch enough basketball that was such a rhythm shot from Ron. He crossed over, got to his spot. Everything about that shot was just straight rhythm. When that left his hands, I could have told you that was going in because that was just cold-blooded shot. I mean, he got to his spot. Race Thompson did nothing to restrict him from that, and the rest is history. He ripped it. He ripped the net.
It's crazy because they had another chance. They almost beat Purdue 2 days ago. Or was that yesterday? They were they lost to Purdue by 2 points.
Yes. That game had me sweating actually because I talked to Brad Wachtel and I was asking him what should we prefer.
They were gonna jump Rutgers basically.
Yeah. If Indiana won that game, they were in. So I was looking at it from the other way. If Indiana won, their net goes up. That makes our win better. But Wachtel's dude, Indiana cannot win.
I mean, they're still in the NIT.
If they want to accept the invitation.
Yeah. It's true. Rutgers, I don't know if this is private, but Rutgers women's basketball possibly accepting an invitation to the women's NIT. So maybe more women's basketball content.
Give Dylan McCoy more articles to write.
More articles to write. Maybe another trip, more games to call. We'll have to see, but
a lot of interesting stuff going on with Rutgers as we close out the winter season, go into the spring season.
Yeah, I mean, even wrestling like this week. They had 6 guys qualify for NCAAs at the Big Ten tournament.
Exactly.
I think Rivera is gonna win at his weight class. I'm pretty sure Sebastian Rivera. You can verify that when this comes out if that already happened, but he's on his way. He's tracking for it. I mean, it's the most guys have had qualify since 2017, so it's big time. They're big time.
Always gotta love the wrestling team too. They've always been really, really consistent with what they do. But without further ado, we'll switch topics to
you've
sports.
Been waiting.
I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting. I mean,
full disclosure, and I'm not a hater. I'm not Skip Bayless, but Jack is a massive LeBron James fan,
which has made this season.
I am too, but not as outspoken.
Which is a shame because this season has just been a nightmare.
Instead of the LeBron James show,
literally
Russell Westbrook show.
Literally could have told you the season would have been a nightmare as soon as that Westbrook trade went.
He's been telling me since the preseason that they were going to be bad.
Yes.
So
yes, I only had faith in LeBron. That was it. That was that. I only had faith in LeBron, but LeBron James had 56 points last night against the Warriors. That was a fun game to watch. Did you watch it?
I did watch it.
It's
one of the best performances I've seen in a while.
I mean, he was white hot from the field. Was.
What did he shoot, 6 of 11 from 3?
I don't want to make this like a Lakers show, but it was also the biggest news of last night, and the recent.
Anytime
couple
LeBron
days
does
in the
anything
NBA,
very good, it's big news. Because he's 37 years old.
He's 37 years old doing
still
this.
Jumping out of the gym. The one lob he caught, he was literally his head was at the rim.
I can't even begin to explain how amazing he is. We were just talking about it before. My take on the GOAT argument. And here we go. Drum roll, please. I don't think I've said it on the podcast, but my take on the GOAT argument is that LeBron James is my GOAT.
I agree.
If Michael Jordan is your GOAT, I'm not going to fight you on that. Michael Jordan is amazing. But
he's the best. He's the best winner of all time. Yes. LeBron James is the best player of all time.
But what we're not going to do is just blindly hate LeBron James on stupid takes.
No.
We're not going to do that.
We don't do that.
Kyrie did not save LeBron at the end of the 2016 finals. That is the top of the idiotic takes on LeBron James.
If you're talking about, did Kyrie, win that series for them? Yes. No. Did he hit the game-winning shot that won them the series? Yes. You cannot argue that.
That's factual.
That is a factual statement.
But if we want to go down the entire stretch of the game, LeBron...
Did he average 35, 7 and 8 in that series or something?
Couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Well,
I could tell you LeBron in that game 7 got him back into the game, hit 3 free throws, hit another 3-pointer, tied the game up.
Blocked by James.
Obviously the block.
Blocked by James.
And then after Kyrie hit that shot, 3-point game against the greatest backcourt 3-point shooting team of all time. LeBron hit the game-winning free throw to seal it and make it a 4-point game and end the series.
LeBron doing his best Caleb McConnell impression with a chase down block.
That's a good comparison. I like that.
That game against Ohio State turned around their season.
Think about it right now. We're sitting at the 5 seed as we record this podcast. If Rutgers didn't win that game against Ohio State,
it'd be 7 or 8.
Exactly. That's the difference between multiple seeds right now. We're sitting at highest the 6th seed right now if we didn't win that game, because then we lose the tiebreaker to Ohio State.
I can't believe I'm saying this about this team that lost to Lafayette and UMass in November, but Rutgers has to be one of the favorites for the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah.
They have to be one of the top 5, 4. I mean, if they're the 4 seed, you have to include them in your discussion of teams that can win it. You have to.
What do you think? And obviously, we were just talking about LeBron James. Now we're going back to Rutgers basketball.
This season is just such a storybook season.
It really is.
Both in good and bad. That. It's a full story.
But what's your number one reason as to why Rutgers turned it around the way they did? Because I have mine.
That's a good question. I mean, I just think in general, the Stars just played better as the season went on. Gio was rehabbing an injury in November, and I don't think Ron really had it going until maybe the Purdue game, to be quite honest. So I think it was just guys stepping up. I mean, Caleb McConnell the past couple months has been absolutely ridiculous too. So just the guys really stepping up. I just didn't think they just weren't ready for the beginning of the season.
All valid points, but mine is number 4. He's the reason.
That's
Paul
fair.
Mulcahy.
That's fair.
He's the reason why this team made the jump the way they did. Because you think about it, Ron Harper Jr. and Geo Baker, they're the top 2 guys. They're the number 1 and number 2. And actually, an interesting thought about those 2 is that very easily you could have like a bad power dynamic where Ron Harper Jr. and Geo Baker kind of fighting over that number 1 role. But they're such low ego and like easygoing guys that it just works. That's another topic for another day.
They're glue guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like they have no egos. Like they support each other through the whole thing. We've seen like, I mean, this is the NBA obviously, but Kyrie and LeBron. Kyrie wanted to be his own guy. Like it's not the same. You don't see that with Ron and Gio. Like
wanted to be Batman, as people often
exactly. But I think it just works great because Ron and Gio are both great guys and low ego guys. Anyway, Paul Mulcahy emerging as that third guy behind Ron and Gio and kind of taking the place, not playing exactly like him, but taking the place of Jacob Young as that third playmaker, a guy you can rely on. Because honestly, today, if you look at today, there was a point where Ron and Gio were both out the game, and I was like, wow, you don't usually see that. But Paul Mulcahy was in the game.
Yeah.
And I was like, you could not have done that back in November. You could not have done that. And I think Paul Mulcahy in general, just being that playmaker that you could rely on and to get other players involved is just huge. And I think Cliff Amore has really benefited from
he's had
Paul
a
Mulcahy
really
as
good
well.
season.
So
I mean, he leads the country in dunks. Like,
4 pockets full, Paul
Who would have told me
Mulcahy.
that
Exactly.
at the beginning of the season? He literally leads the nation in dunks. Like, it's incredible. But go back to LeBron. He's 30.
We're just flip flopping back and forth. How do we even get back? Because we were talking about the 2016 finals and you said like Kayla McConnell-esque.
Yeah. No,
Rutgers
but
basketball, LeBron. It's just
yeah. But nah, it's amazing they're still doing this stuff at 37. I do wish he had a better supporting cast around him, but
it hurts me, man, because when LeBron teams are good, that's when the NBA is at its best. I'm sorry, that's just what I mean. Like when you have the greatest player of all time playing at his best with a good supporting cast and being at the top of the West, like it's
all I'm saying is last year I enjoyed when I didn't know who was gonna go to the finals. I would have enjoyed it more if it was the Nets.
I'm not even saying
if
that.
KD wore half a shoe size smaller and that 2 was a 3, they would have won that game. The fact they almost beat that team with a 20% James Harden and KD and Kyrie, incredible. But
I hate how the NBA season always like mostly comes down to injuries. Like that's how it usually.
Especially
goes
I feel
down.
like recently too.
I think
last year was pretty bad.
Last year was horrible. 2019 came down to injuries. Honestly, and I'm not even saying this because I'm biased. 2020 did not come down to injuries. The Lakers were the best team.
They were the best team.
They were the best team.
They were the best.
Bubble. And second thing that people
they
love
also got Miami in the finals.
Lakers weren't losing Miami.
No,
they were not losing.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying they got an.
People make that argument though. In the second,
they got an easier finals matchup.
Maybe we should do like a counter of like things that like irk me about what people say about LeBron. Number 2, bubble ring and how it's fraudulent.
You mean the Mickey ring?
This is ridiculous. Just ridiculousness.
I love people. I love that like people like call things like Mickey Mouse now. I just think that's mad funny. Like I don't know like a Mickey Mouse ring. I think that's just the funniest.
There is some funny stuff though. I gotta admit there is some funny stuff.
It wasn't the hardest ring to win, but it also wasn't like the easiest ring to win.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just when people say it doesn't count. And they actually say that with their full heart. When they actually say it with their full heart.
He has 4. It counts.
He has 4.
It counts.
Paul Mulcahy, number 4. LeBron James, number 4. I've been putting up the 4 a lot today. But, yeah, it's overall, I mean, we talked about the NBA. So, overall, I think the season will really be interesting as it comes down. Obviously, like I said, it'd be more interesting if LeBron actually didn't trade for Russell Westbrook.
And if the Nets weren't 500.
Yeah, but they also have KD, so
they'll be fine.
There is a chance.
And,
it should be a good ending.
And if NYC lifts their mandate, then Kyrie can come back playing home games. And
you're right. That should be interesting.
That new look team with Ben Simmons just playing defense. I was not happy at first, but like looking at like the actual situation, like knowing that Harden was just like ready to go, like we got pretty good value. Seth Curry.
When's Ben Simmons gonna play though?
That's a good question. I don't know. It feels like he should play like all the time, but he doesn't. So, can't be rehabbing forever, but we'll have to see. And I will stop lamenting about the Nets. And Jack, you can hit us with the outro.
Without further ado, and that's all for today. Join us next time on Keeping Score for more sports recaps, and make sure you follow the Daily Targum on our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more content.